I slowly obeyed, at least to see my killer before I died. And to my greatest shock, I was standing before Minju, the K-pop idol that made everyone go nuts. I froze in shock as I realized he was a Mafia behind the scenes. I couldn't believe it. He hits me with his pistol and that was all. By the time I woke up, all I could remember before I fell unconscious was the smirk on his face. I looked round and noticed, I was in a huge room, those type meant for rich, classy people. I rose on my feet calmly and silently headed for the door. I opened it wide enough to take a peep only to realize some hefty men in black was guarding the room which I was in. I shut the door scared, wondering how I will escape. I rushed to my bag, put on my phone but there was no internet. I got scared, wondering how I would reach Kulfi. The more I tried to think, the more my head hurts. It got to a point, I fell on my knees in tears, closed my eyes and prayed for a miracle. I knew Kulfi would have been worried about me. I tried to be calm. I had lots of things to do. My future, my life, my dreams. I stood up, with little courage, slowly opened the door, but what I saw wasn't what I expected. Minju had beaten up the men but, weren't those his men? He rushed towards me and hugged me tightly, asking why I hadn't gone to his place as he had ordered. I got confused. I slowly got off his hold. I was going to shout at him but then, his eyes, the pain in those eyes of his, the fear, there was something different. I could feel it but did not know how to identify it. He grabbed my right hand and slowly dragged me behind him, taking the stairs. I wondered if he was going to kill me or was performing a drama. Wasn't he the guy the first saw last night about to kill me? I wanted to yell but then paused as he made the two of us lower ourselves. There I saw him walking towards the living room. He looked just like Minju. I then understood. The guy my eyes were on was a Mafia who looked like Minju but wasn't Minju. I wondered if they were twins. I was going to ask Minju but saw it unwise as we could be discovered. He had to wait for the other look-alike of his to be out of sight before he drew me close and slowly headed for the door. We both ran as soon as we successfully got out of the compound. We got to the bus station and sat on the chair, trying to catch our breath. I took a glance at him. Why was he suddenly kind to me? Why did he show up for me? Why did he look worried about me minutes ago? Who was the other look-alike? What did he mean I should have gone to his home as he had instructed? Did he know the Mafia was going to show up in my building? Did he know more than I knew? I kept on asking myself more and more questions. After noticing he seemed ready for a conversation, I asked him about the Mafia. He gave me an uneasy look, something mixed with fear and pain. I got confused, wondering if their relationship was deep. Since he was still silent, maybe thinking of what to say or perhaps had no idea how to say it, I decided to stylishly ask if the Mafia was his twin. He replied with a no and told me not to get involved. I was going to ask why but then my eyes noticed his fingers shaking, his eyes was filled with so much unexplainable pain. I realized it wasn't something I could casually ask about. I wondered what he had been through to have so much pain deep in him. I moved closer to him and placed his head on my chest. I had no idea whether it comforted him or not. All I knew was that he needed comfort. We were like that for almost 30 minutes. We could have been like that longer, if not for the call he had. He looked at the phone with an unexplainable attitude. Something I couldn't understand. He stood up and asked if I wanted to go to school or go back to my apartment. I looked at him in shock. Go back to which apartment? And get killed by the Mafia. I asked him if he wanted me dead. He lowered himself and tells me he will sort it out and clear me free from any target. His words made me more curious and more confused but I couldn't ask about it, noticing how uncomfortable he was talking about it. I asked him where he was going. He lowered his eyes not happy. I touched his face and asked if he didn't want to go. He raised his head and gave me that glance, was honest and told me he didn't want to go because it was Yuna's dad. The weary smile he gave me made me realize something for the first time. All this while, I thought he liked Yuna and Yuna liked him and they were happy together. But in reality, he wasn't happy. All they displayed in school was all fakes. Out of curiosity, I asked if he was really dating Yuna as rumored. He told me a no. I didn't want to make him uncomfortable, so I asked if he could ignore Yuna's dad. He told me things will fall apart if he did and he wasn't brave enough to do so. I asked if all he displayed in school was scripted and he confirmed with a yes. I asked if he was happy with it. He said if he didn't, his career was over. For the first time, tears filled my eyes. I had always saw Minju as a proud, handsome bastard but in reality, he was only being what they wanted him to be. I thought his life was perfect, that was why he was always smiling but his life was too complicated for me to understand but one thing was clear, he wasn't happy, he was only masking his pain with smiles. He asked why I was crying. I was shocked, I never knew I was crying. I tried to put on a smile and tells him, I will always be there for him. My words placed a smile on his face, his smile made my heart beat in an unexplainable way. I couldn't understand why all of a sudden, it was beating for him but I didn't seem to hate it. In fact, I liked it. He rose on his feet and told me he was leaving. I waved him a bye as he boarded a taxi. I couldn't get my eyes off the taxi till it was out of sight. One thing I knew deep in my heart was, I was falling in love. I blushed at the thought of it. Then my phone rang. It was my one and only bestie, Kulfi. She had been worried about me and finally got the chance to call me. She reminded me about the audition which will start by 12 p.m. and it was 11 a.m. We agreed to meet at the audition venue. I quickly boarded a bus and headed for the venue. Kulfi was already there, waiting for me. I rushed towards her with a smile. I hugged her tightly. I had missed her a lot. We both rushed in, collected forms, filled it, got numbers, waited for our turn and when our turn came, we performed in the best way we could with hopes. The judges asked us to wait for 3 hours which every contestant had no choice but to. During the wait, I and Kulfi toured the building happily. We got to the rooftop and looked down, watching every soul that enters. My eyes were filled with shock the moment I saw Minju come out of a car only to receive a slap from a man who seemed older. He bowed in respect and followed the man in. Kulfi was more shocked than I was but not as hurt as I was. I told her I will be back, rushed down the stairs, ran as fast as I could. I saw him coming out of the elevator with the man. I silently followed the two to an office. From their conversation, I realized two things, even though they weren't clear talks but cryptic. Minju had risked something to clear me out of being targeted, and second, he threatened to expose it all if the director tried to go behind his back and harm me. I understood one thing, he was protecting me, but from what? What was he threatening to expose? What was going on? I asked myself number of times, confused. I noticed Kulfi waving at him and hinting in signs that the result was about to be announced. I rushed towards her and we both ran to the venue. There, the selected were announced. I hope they picked I and Kulfi as the judges called out the number of selected contestants. I heard Kulfi name, was happy for her. I waited till the last name was called and realized my name wasn't Amon. I felt bad. My dream was to be a K-pop idol. That was why I applied to school in South Korea High. What was wrong with my performance? Kulfi was also sad I wasn't picked. I was more hurt as it meant we won't always be together as she would be busy with training after school. As we walked out of the company together, I wished her the best and she hoped I get into a better company. We both boarded the same bus, heading back home. I was left alone after waving her a bye, walked through the street in silence. But then I saw some men standing at a distance. They looked dangerous. My instinct told me to run, but then someone placed an umbrella over me and those men ran away in fear. I turned to see who it was, only to see the Mafia who looked just like Minju. Fear gripped me. I asked what he wanted. He could only smile and tell me how shocked he was to see how much Minju wanted to protect me and that had sparked his interest in me. I didn't want anything to do with him. I told him to stay away from me. All he did was to smile and ask if I could bear losing someone I loved. I looked at him scared. He seemed dangerous and could do something deadly. I warned him to stay away from everyone that mattered to me, especially Minju, as I feared he could harm Minju as I had no idea what Minju risked for me to be clear from being targeted. All he did was out on a smile and say, okay. That okay was enough to make me more scared. I watched him walk away without saying any more words. I had never been as confused as I was as I watched the Mafia walk away, and the more I recall that smile of his, the more scared I was. I knew one thing despite the confusion that plagued my reasoning, this was just the beginning. South Korea High, Episode 2. Subscribe for more episodes only on SMO Library.